Hello, welcome to a new episode of our program Africa Today. I'm Yasmin Bakir. I'm filling in for Inji Mehed this week. Of course, we bring you the latest updates that are happening at the African continent for the past 24 hours. And we're going to start off by taking a look at South Africa. And a different strain of the coronavirus, the COVID-19, has been also discovered and released by scientists, although they have been speculating that it has nothing to do with the different strain that has recently been emerging in Britain. Let's take a look at this report. African scientists said they are working with the World Health Organization to investigate a new variant of coronavirus currently surging in many parts of the country. The new variant, known as 501v2, was identified by a genomics-led team in South Africa. It was discovered earlier this month when scientists noticed a number of mutations during routine surveillance of the virus. Local scientists say that South Africa's new variant appears to be unrelated to one found in the UK. Researchers in the UK says the mutated virus there is 70% more transmissible. But experts in South Africa says that they are still gathering data on this, but expect this may be the case here too. In South Africa, the new variant was first found in Eastern Cape province and has since spread to the Western Cape. The country recently entered a second wave of infections, which has led to the new regulations to try to slow the spread of the disease, including the closures of some of the major beaches. Mutations and viruses are not uncommon, according to experts, and it's not clear at this stage whether the new variants are more deadly. Speaking more on the African continent, and let's talk more about Rwanda and Russia, who have sent troops to the Central African Republic to be able to help counter a surge in the violence that have been taking place by the rebels at this region. Let's take a look at this report. Rwanda and Russia have sent troops and supplies to the Central African Republic to help counter a surge in violence by rebel groups ahead of Sunday's elections. Security forces and the UN peacekeepers have been battling rebels who have occupied towns and roads outside the capital. The authorities accuse former President Francois Bozize, whose presidential candidacy was rejected by the courts, of plotting a coup with several militant groups. President Faustin Touadera, who is seeking re-election, came to office in 2006 after Bozize was overthrown in a rebellion 3 years earlier. He has struggled to restore stability in swath of the country remain beyond government control. The Car government said in a statement that Rwanda and Russia took steps to provide effective support, which arrived in the Central African territory on Monday. The Rwandan Defense Ministry confirmed in a statement that it had sent troops. And going back to Egypt, where Egypt is hosting, starting from Tuesday, a 3-day talks between the Libyan delegates, where there are 75 different delegates representing all cities in the southern area of Libya. And to know more about this visit, let's take a look at this report. A broad Libyan delegation comprised of 75 representatives of all southern Libyan cities have arrived at Cairo's international airport on Tuesday to hold a 2-day talks with a number of Egyptian officials. The delegation is set to discuss the Libyan crisis and means to resolve it politically in light of Egypt's role in supporting the security and sovereignty of the Libyan state. The delegation comprises tens of prominent figures and endermen from southern cities in the Fezzan province, representing all social stratus in the Libyan south. The Egyptian National Committee concerned with the Libyan crisis is set to listen to the demands of the delegation members. The committee will establish means to ensure steady communication with the Libyan south, support the Libyan efforts against foreign intervention in light of attempts by some forces to bolster a federalist tendency. To shed further light on this rather very crucial issue, we're joined over the phone by Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, political analyst. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Raouf.
Thank you. Have a nice afternoon.
Dr. Raouf, we have a delegates of 75 figures from Libya's south. They include elders and dignitaries in order to discuss the demands of the south residents. So from your perspective, what are these demands and what are the south residents of Libya currently suffering from?
First of all, as we said it repeatedly, and not only us, but our heads of states and everybody agreed that the Libyan crisis has to be solved from within Libya. So the Libyan factions or the Libyans themselves have to work something out in order to establish peace, security, and stability in their own country. So this is just a preface, we have to say it. As I see the crisis, I have a feeling that the eastern part and the southern part are almost agreeing on most of the issues, and they have a similar point of view as far as the future of Libya is concerned. So they want elections, they want to be fairly represented in the new order of Libya. And mind you, the southern part of Libya is the largest as far as territory is concerned. Mm-hmm. And this is a tribal area. I mean, it is formed from tribes, and every tribe, of course, has its leadership, and they agree. Most of them, if not all of them, agree on playing a role in the future of Libya, having a significant part, play a significant part in the future of Libya, and be fairly represented as far as wealth distribution is concerned, as far as the new order of Libya is concerned. So this is a very legitimate demand. They have said it repeatedly in all the meetings that were held, whether in Cairo or in Morocco or in Europe. And I think that they have a legitimate right to do so. And we as Egypt, stand behind them and back their legitimate demands. So it is an important part of Libya. They have very legitimate and very rightful demands, or rights, I should put it. And I think that they have been saying this in all the endeavors, and they have to be part of any future of Libya, of course.
Yes, Dr. Raouf, there have been several countries over the past period of time who are trying to bring together the different tribes and factions that are currently in Libya together to reach to a final settlement and a compromise. Egypt has a very successful several meetings that have been taking place. It is not the first round of its kind, and it has been proven successful. Let's talk more about the Egyptian role in reaching to a consensus and to sort of a concrete deal where the internal affairs of Libya is being settled down, especially as Egypt's stance is very clear when it comes to the Libyan crisis, and very much against the interference of internal affairs and very much against the foreign interference of troops in Libya as well.
First of all, any country that offers to help settling down things or reaching a fair settlement, one should thank. But as far as Egypt is concerned, first of all, as far as neighboring countries are concerned, we're talking Tunisia, we're talking Algeria, maybe down south, but mainly Egypt being the biggest and largest African country, and having thousands of kilometers as borders with Libya, considers that the Libyan crisis is an extension to any Egyptian situation. In other words, the national security of Libya is an integral part of the national security of Egypt, and the eastern border of Libya, western of Egypt, of course, has to be at all time secured and safe. And this is exactly what Egypt has been doing over the last years, and pushing towards a peaceful settlement. And I think so far we have been successful in doing that. As you rightly said, we have sort of gathered most of the tribe chiefs to agree on the Egyptian point of view to establish peace and security over the whole territory of Libya. The eastern part as well of Libya, of course, is sharing the same aspirations. And once again, I repeat, anybody who wants to help, particularly the countries that have interests, I mean, whether commercial interests or political interests with Libya, are welcome to join, but the neighboring countries, and particularly Egypt, has to be given the first and second and third priorities as far as solving the Libyan crisis. One thing I have to add is that all the interventions have to be on the political level, but not on any other level. And I refer to that by the foreign interference, military interference, and political interference in Libya by some regional countries, which is completely unethical, completely rejected, and has to come to an end because the presence of forces, foreign forces, and foreign influence on Libyan territory is not healthy and will not help in solving the Libyan crisis. So again, I repeat, anybody is welcome to come in as far as he is offering political solutions, but any interference that is not political is absolutely rejected and cannot be part of any settlement in Libya.
Yes, Dr. Rauf, the situation in Libya is rather very complicated with the clashes of interests and the different involved parties, whether they are from foreign intervention or even the differences within Libya itself, speaking specifically between the western and the southern part of Libya. So from your own perspective and your own evaluation, how far is the crisis or the chaos in Libya far from being resolved?
One has to say it, most unfortunately, the western part of Libya is although it looks like some kind of I don't know, organization or administration or whatever you call it. I mean, this agreed upon government. Unfortunately, it has been first of all exceeded the time limit it was formed for. It has been using foreign maneuvers and foreign powers to sort of fortify and consolidate their position, which is completely wrong. And mind you, between two big brackets, although it looks like an administration, but in the pure fact, it is not. It is a no man's land. It is being governed by militias and by different factions, everybody ruling in some instances streets and not even cities. And there is no law, there is no order, and this situation has to stop. I mean, and this is what creates the dilemma, because when you want to reach a settlement, you have to be discussing with somebody who really has a saying.
Yes, of
but
course,
when
definitely.
we're talking West, we are talking people claiming that they have authority, but they don't.
Yes,
even
we
over
only
their own
have,
people.
pardon me, we only have 2 minutes, and I'm still curious to also ask you a final question here, Dr. Rauf. And speaking of the West, it seems to be that Italy and France, as international key players, seem to have the same common grounds with Egypt with regard to the situation in Libya. What role can these international players in specific do in the upcoming period to speed up the reconciliation process inside Libya?
They have to exert their maximum power, first of all, to get rid of the foreign intervention, and I mean military intervention and political intervention. And if we want to mention names, the Turkish intervention, this has to stop, because countries like Italy and countries like France, they have the highest consideration for the peace and security of Libya, because they have a lot of common interests, and they are key players, and they agree on the same line with Egypt, that all foreign forces have to be out, and then they have to exert the pressure over the Western government to try and put some sense into their head and make them sit on the negotiation table and reach a settlement, and not go back on what they agree, because they have done that repeatedly, and they went back on every promise they did. So this time the pressure has to be strong and has to be very big, so that they conform to whatever agreement they reach.
Very well. Dr. Raouf Ghaffar, political analyst, thank you very much for joining us here on our program Africa Today. We thank you very much. That brings us to the end of our episode of Africa Today. Of course, our Panorama edition for this afternoon will be coming your way at exactly 3 p.m. Cairo local time. I'm Yasmin Bakir signing off. Thank you for watching.